Hey everyone, welcome back to my very ugly WordPress theme. Now hopefully by now you've learnt quite a bit about WordPress theme development, but there is always stuff to learn. So in this video, I'm going to teach you how to create your own custom advanced search. So basically we're going to have a page where you can go on and you can type in, you can search by keyword, you can search by brand, and you can search by a price range. So let's get started. The first thing that we need to do is we need to create a page that we're going to put the search on. So to do that, if you go into your WordPress admin, go to pages and very simply create a page. I'm just going to call it car search. I'll publish it. And then if we go into our code and create a new file, let's call it car-search.php. And we're going to make this a template so that we can assign it to the car search page in WordPress. So if we open up our PHP tags, we do / template name, car search, and then close it. And now we should be able to go into our car search page and refresh it. And that template will become available, which means that that template is going to be used on this page. If you type in, say, test here and go to the page, it should now come up. Fantastic. Now what we can do is we can go into, say, page.php and copy over some of the stuff here so that we can incorporate it into our template. So we have the header and the footer and all that sort of stuff. So let's just paste this in there and go back to page.php, go to the bottom and paste that into there as well. Cool, so now we have a container to work within. And if we refresh the page, it's going to show the header and the footer and everything we need for the template to work properly. Okay, so now that we've got that, we need to create a search page. So we need to give someone the option by typing into an input field or searching on a select field. We need to display that to them first. And once we display it, we can then post that information and return the results. So let's work on that first. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to create a card in a Bootstrap card and then give it a body as well, just for design purposes. Now this is going to be a very ugly search form, just so you know. If you've come here for a design tutorial, then you haven't come to the right place. First thing, as you probably know with forms, is that you need to wrap around form like that. So it needs to be 2 form tags, exactly like that. And we're going to be making a post request. We're going to be making a GET request. So basically, whatever we fill out in this form is going to be posted to another page, but it's not going to be a post request per se. It's going to be a GET request, and the parameters are going to come up in the top here, like something like that. And then we can use that data to do the query, and the results will show. Okay, so the method will be GET, but because it is a method of GET, we actually don't need to have anything in there because that's by default a GET request. So where are we going to post this data? Well, we're going to actually post it to the same page. So all we have to do is to do action equals PHP echo home URL. Now that's a WordPress function which basically spits out the URL of the main website. And then we do inside of there car search. And basically that is going to post to the car search page. So let's save it and let's have a look at the code. Go further down, there we go. As you can see, it automatically puts the URL there and adds car search to the end. Okay, cool. Now what we want to do is the first option we want to give people is to be able to type in a keyword. So if they want to search for a specific keyword, that would be in the content of the car page. So if we go to the car page, go into a specific car, and here. So let's just type something in here as just as some text so we can search for that later. And so that's basically what it's going to do. When we do the query, it's going to search this specific text area here. Okay, so to do that, let's just make it an input field. Input type equals text. And we have to give it a name, and the name we can give it is just keyword. We'll give it a placeholder, and we can just type a keyword. And let's save it and refresh the page. So now we have an input field. I'll give it a bootstrap class so it looks a bit better. So form control, and I'll also give it a label, type a keyword. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just not indent this as much because it's hard to see everything. Okay, let's refresh it. Done. Type a keyword. I might also give each one I'll make it a form group, a bootstrap form group, and it just kind of separates the fields a bit. Cool. All right. So now we have a form group. We have an input inside of it, and it has the ability for us to type in a keyword. Cool. So we've done that. We've assigned the name of the input to keyword. So that will be how WordPress can pick it up afterwards. The next thing we want to do is search by brand. Now, you probably don't want someone to type in the brand themselves. You want them to be able to see a list of brands that are existing in your system and to choose it from a select box. So to do that, what we can do is let's create a new form group. And inside that form group, let's do select name equals, and we'll make the name of the field brand. And inside of there, we want to basically display all the brands that are only in our database. So if we refresh it now, obviously that's going to be blank, but we can use a pretty cool WordPress function that's been set up for us to get all the brands. So let's go right to the top of this page and let's set a brands variable. So brands equals, now we're going to use a function called get terms, and this basically will get the terms or the terms within a taxonomy. So brands is a taxonomy, and terms are a term is each individual brand. So get terms accepts an array, and inside that array there's an option for taxonomy. We're going to make that brands, because if you remember, our taxonomy is actually called brands. Okay, so the taxonomy is brands, and there is another option called hide empty, which you might want to use if you want to hide brands that don't have cars in it, just so people don't do a blank search. But in this case, I'm just going to do false. So if we just go underneath here, let's just go here, type in pre and PHP echo, oh sorry, not echo, print are brands. The reason why I do pre is because it's going to put it in a nice format. If I refresh it, oh, we have to go to the car search page first. You'll see that it will come up with both the brands, BMW and Toyota. And you'll see they're an object, so we need to grab the name and the slug out of here. So let's just go down here. Now we're going to do a for each loop. So PHP for each, brands as brand, and within that for each loop, we're going to create an option with a value, and within that option, we're also going to show the name of the brand. So we'll do, we want the name to come up visually, but we want the slug to be posted as a value. So the name, so it would be PHP echo brand name, and you use the arrow because it's an object, not an array. And then in this case, it's going to be brand slug, which is there. So let's refresh that, go down. You'll see now that we have the options for both BMW and Toyota there. So I'll just get rid of this now. Okay, so we have the two options, but we don't want people to have to choose that if they don't want to. So first of all, actually, I'll just give this form control so it looks nicer as well. So we can add above the for each loop, we can create another option. So we'll just do option value and we'll make it empty. And then we'll just do choose a brand. If we refresh that, you should see now that you have the option to do that. You could do disabled, which means that they can't even select, you click on it, but then it won't actually show up. So it's best to just leave it as an empty value. Cool, so we have type a keyword, type a brand. I'll put a label there. Choose a brand. Cool. So that should be enough for this minute, and then I'll show you how to do the price range as well. We obviously need to put a button at the bottom of this form. So button search. The button will have a type of submit, and I'll give it some bootstrap classes. Class button, button success, button large, button block. Refresh it. Awesome. Okay. So if we click it now, you'll notice that it actually does resubmit to the car search page, but it passes the parameters. So if I type test here and hit search, you should see test come up, and that is a GET request. Brand, same sort of thing. It automatically comes up here. But you'll notice that when we hit search, we lose the actual terms that were originally set, and we don't want that. People might want to remember what they actually searched for. So there's a couple of things we can do here. For the keyword, we just need to set a value if it is set. So if there is a GET parameter for keyword that is set, then you just need to do basically an if statement, which I'll do now. And I've just kind of made this a bit more readable so it's easy to understand. But what we can do is we can do PHP if is set get keyword and then within this, actually no, we could do it a different way. Sorry, let's try it this way. Let's set the value, and inside there we'll do just a one shorthand if statement. So it'll be PHP echo is set get keyword. So if the keyword is set, then we can echo the keyword. Otherwise, let's just make it an empty string. All right, let's see if this works. Okay, so let's go and type something. If I hit search, the value stays there, which is awesome. And you'd probably want to do the same with brand as well. Brand doesn't stay there right now. So to do that, what we need to do is, let's go down to our code, and all we basically have to do is make it selected if that brand is the one in the GET request. So to do that, let's go to the option inside the for each loop, and inside there, let's just do an if statement. So PHP if open and close the tags and close the if statement as well. And within this if statement, we want to do a couple of things. I'm just going to make a bit of room because it's going to be a bit of a long one. So if the brand keyword, or sorry, not the brand keyword, the brand search is set. So if is set, get brand. So if it exists in the thing up here, and so 2 ampersands, and we'll put these in another set of brackets. Get brand equals brand slug. Now I'll just reduce the amount of space that this is taking up here. So basically I'm saying if the brand name has been set in the search and the brand name equals the slug within this for each loop, then we want that particular option to be selected. So let's have a look now. I'm going to go and restart this page. I'm going to do test and I'm going to choose Toyota, search, and as you can see, it sticks. Cool, so we've managed to set up the front end search form and also post it to this car search page. But now we want the car search page to consume that data and make a query against the database with these fields and spit out the cars that are associated with or that match that specific query. So like we did in the short codes, if we go back to our code editor, like we did in our short codes tutorial, we did a WP query. So I'm just going to do something. I'm going to open up the PHP tags and I'm going to create an arguments variable like we did before. And inside there, let's create our query. So the post type that we're going to be posting to is cars. If you don't know how to find that, you just need to go back to click on cars here and you'll see the post type name or the slug of that is called cars. And then we want to tell it how many posts per page. So posts per page. And I'm just going to make it unlimited. So 0 is unlimited. And then if you remember, we had 2 different types of queries. We had a taxonomy query, which will query like stuff like brands, like the brand name. And then we had a meta query, which is querying the custom fields associated with each car. The taxonomy query I'm going to leave empty because we're going to append stuff to it if they choose a brand. Otherwise, it's not going to be queried. The meta query, same thing. We'll do meta query and we'll open up an array. The only thing that we're going to put inside of this array is how we want it to kind of process the keywords when we send it through. And if we go up here to our search, we want people to be able to search eventually for a brand, and when there's a price range, we want them to search. So let's say, for example, they want to search for a BMW between $50,000 and $100,000. We want the search to process it as an and search. So I want to find a BMW and the price is below 50,000 and above X amount, or sorry, below 100,000 and above 100, below 100,000 and above 50,000. But it needs to be an and. If you didn't want to do an and, you could make it an or, which means that, it will search if this is true or if this is true. But we want to make it and. So we'll do relation and. Cool. So now, once we have the basic query there, we want to close our PHP statement, obviously, and then we want to add things to the query based on if they exist. So the keyword, for example, if you remember, we were submitting a keyword. We want that to come up in the query only if someone types that keyword. Okay, so if they don't type a keyword, we don't want it to be looking for an empty string in our database because that just won't work properly. So to do that, after our argument, we want to do if is set. So this is for the keyword. Get keyword. So if there is a keyword set, double brackets there. And then under that, we want to also check if the keyword is empty. So if it's like a blank string, we don't want to search either. So it could still be set, but empty. So we'll do if not empty, get keyword. So if the keyword is not empty or it's not a blank string, then we want to append something to our arguments array, which we're then going to send to the post query. So the arguments array for searching keywords in WordPress is just something called S. So if you look up here, if we were to do it, it would just be something like this. So that being the keyword you're trying to search. So we're basically going to append this keyword to the S row in the arguments array, which we're then going to pass to our WP post query. And that query will know automatically that S is to search the content of that specific post. It seems a bit weird, but that's just how WordPress has done it. So just to run you through, if a keyword exists in the GET request, so if up here, keyword exists, which it does, check if it's empty. And in this case, it is empty, so it won't process this. But if it's not empty, then add the keyword to the search in the arguments array, which then will search for that. So let's just do a quick one. We've added in the keyword. So let's return a new WP query. And inside there, we want to pass our arguments that we've made. Okay, so let's see what happens now. Go back to the page and we'll just type in test. And as you can see, nothing has actually happened because stupidly, we don't return it. We just need to obviously put it into a variable so we can use it. So instead of returning, we do query equals. And now, if we say do a print R on the query, we should be able to see some results there. There you go. So we can see our argument, and then we can also see if we can also grab the results. So don't worry too much about all this code here. I'll get out of that. Now what we want to do is actually show those results. So now that we have this query, let's do PHP if query have posts. So this function will check if the query actually has any results. And I'll just close that off. So if there are results, then we do a while loop to grab those results and each individual result. So PHP while query have posts. So while it has posts, query set each post to its own kind of individual variable. And we can then end the while there, and then we can work with each individual result within here. So let's type in result and see if anything comes up. So let's refresh and test, hit search, nothing comes up. So what we can do is after this while loop, sorry, not after the while loop, after this if statement, we can do else, PHP else, there are no results. Let's refresh it again. There you go. So we've got no results. I'll pretty that up. I'll make it div class equals alert danger and close that off. Refresh again. Maybe put, we'll do a bit of a spacer between there. Class equals clearfix. This is a WordPress thing. A Bootstrap thing. Okay, so we've got no results. But if you remember, we created a car, well, we had a car earlier that I added some text into. So I added awesome car there. Let's do a search and see if awesome car shows a result. Seems to work, but we're in some sort of infinite loop. So let's go back into our code to see what the problem is. And as I can see now that I've actually put the posts instead of the post. So yeah, make sure you do that. We'll go back to our car-search page and then we'll do the same thing. Awesome car, hit search, and we do get a result, which is cool. So now what we can do is if we go into our single cars.php, we can use any of the variables here. So we can use the picture of the car. We'll paste that in, so that will show each individual picture of each car. And then we could do like h3 php the title, and just make it an h3 tag. And let's refresh it now. There we go, the car comes up. Awesome. All right. So if we go back to the page again without any queries, you'll notice that the search results are there automatically. All the cars in the database are coming up, and we don't want that. So how would we go about stopping that? Well, we need to just do a check to see if there are any queries in the get super global. So if there are, keyword like that, if there are things up here, we want it to show results. If there aren't, we don't want it to. So to do that, we could go at the top here and we could just set a variable called is search. And then we could do a count. So count. And we want to count how many results are in the get super global. So for example, if you had something like that, that would mean there's only one. If you had this, there would be two. So we need it to be zero. We need it to be more than zero to be able to search. So let's just do count get. And we're just going to do a count on the get array. So it's going to tell us how many search parameters have been submitted. Now, if it's 0, then it's automatically going to be classified as false. So let's go down here and we'll go to our query. We don't want this query to run if the search is null. So if is search. So if it's more than 0, then run the query. And also on this page, we want to do PHP if is search. So that will protect it from doing a submission if there are no search results or search parameters entered. So let's refresh it. There we go. But if we do awesome car there and hit search, it should work fine. So now that works, we want to be able to choose a brand, but the brand doesn't work yet. So let's go back up here. And as you remember, it asks us if, it does a search to check if a keyword has been searched for, and then it appends this to the arguments. Well, we kind of need to do the same thing with the brand as well. So underneath the keyword, let's do if is set get brand. If is not empty, get brand. Then within there, we want to add to the array up here. We want to add something into this part. So let's just do tax query, and then it's going to be an extra array within there. So we need to do a blank thing like that. And then we will add the array we want to, which will be the taxonomy we're trying to search for is called brands. So if we go here, go to our cars, go to brands, you'll see the taxonomy name is brands. And then we want to make it so that it searches the slug of each term. So if we go into BMW, you'll see that that's slug there. So we want it to search that. And we obviously want to tell it what terms to search for. So terms, and terms naturally accepts an array of terms, but in this case, we're going to make it an array with only one term, which will be get brand. Cool. So that should work. Let's try it out and see what happens. Let's go back to the search page, hit refresh, and try and search for an awesome car that's a Toyota. No, but if we search for an awesome car that's a BMW, it should work. And then we can take that away, hit search, BMW comes up, or Toyotas come up. Cool. All right, so now we've got the keywords working and we have the brands working. Now, one thing, if you have a website that requires someone outside to be able to type some terms which are going to be hitting your database, you're going to always want to sanitize the data, which basically means to clean it up, just in case they're trying to do something called an SQL injection. Search for what an SQL injection is, but WordPress has basically an easy way to sanitize the field. All you need to do is say, for example, this keyword up here, we will do sanitize text field, and automatically it's going to sanitize that data and take out any kind of harmful characters that could be used in an SQL injection. And do the same with the brand as well. So now if I type in like with a test with an apostrophe, hit search, you'll see that the search results will actually convert the apostrophe to harmless stuff. Okay, so now that we've done that, let's do a price range. So let's go back to our code, and we will then underneath the brand, we'll do form, div form group, class equals form group. We'll make it a row so we can have two columns in there. We'll do a bootstrap class of div class col lg6, which will give us a half column, and we'll do two of them, so two rows next to each other. In the first row, basically what we want to do is we want to have the lowest price someone can choose from, and then the highest price. So from, and then to. So let's go back, refresh. And now we need to put two select fields, one which shows a number of prices, and two to show a number of prices. So you could easily just manually type in the prices and that would take you forever. But we can do some PHP to make it a bit easier, and we can increment the prices accordingly. So for the from, we'll just make it label from price. And let's make it a select field. And within this select field, actually we'll make the select field have a class of form control. And inside there, we want to do an option with a value. But then we want to do a loop around it, which is called a for loop. The for loop will automatically increment prices. I'm going to make it increment by $10,000 at a time. So we can do PHP for, we'll set a variable called I, which is kind of standard. We'll make it 0, and then we'll make it, we'll say if I is less than 210,000, then add to this variable. We'll do plus equals, and we're going to increment it by $10,000. Cool. All right, and then we'll do PHP and for. Now within side of this for loop, we're going to give the value of the option PHP echo I. So it's going to basically give the value of whatever increment it's at that point in time. And then if I just put that in the label as well, let's see what it does. We'll refresh it. As you can see, from price, and then it's all incremented to $200,000. You'll notice I did to 210, but because we're incrementing by $10,000, that's why it takes away the 210 and makes the most recent one 200,000. Okay, so we've done that, but we don't want it to just show up like that. We want it to have $ and all that sort of stuff. So in this label here for the option, we could make it echo, put a $ there, and then a dot to concatenate it, number, format, and we'll put the I inside of there, and then we'll do 2. Let's refresh it. Now you'll see that actually gives it to 2 decimal places. We'll take away the 2. There we go, 0 to 200,000. Okay, so let's do the same thing with the to price. And make it work exactly the same way. Cool, so we have 0 to whatever, yep, cool. And then we obviously need to assign a name to these select fields, so when they get passed through the get query that they get picked up. So we'll go name equals price above. So that's basically choosing the lowest price, and then the shortest price or price below is for the highest price. All right, so now if we go here, refresh it, and let's put in some values, you'll see now it's actually posting 20,000 and 110,000. Cool, but now it's not remembering what we've chosen. So we have to do exactly what we did before, where we did this query. So I'm going to copy that and put it inside of this particular option. It's getting way too indented right now. Okay, so if you set get price above and price above equals, it's not going to be brand slug, it's going to be I, whatever the increment is, then it should work. So let's refresh that, and as you can see, now that sticks. We'll do the same thing for down here, paste that in there, but we'll make this below, refresh, and let's try it out. There you go. So it is sticking. Now we obviously have to add that into our query so it actually queries that data. So if we go right to the top again, where are we? So much code. We'll underneath brand, let's add 2 more. Let's do, I'm sick of writing is set, so I'm just going to copy this, take away this data here, and change this to price above, and also copy that, price below. Okay, so if price above is set, what are we supposed to do? We're querying a custom field. So if we go to the cars, click, oh, we're already in a car. Go further down, you'll see the price is there. We're actually querying the field as opposed to the taxonomy for the brands. So it's a bit of a different one. It actually is part of the meta query array. And as you can see, we've set it to relation and. So it's basically going to search if price is above 10,000 and price is below. If we change this to or, it would be if price is above 10,000 or price is below 100,000. It probably doesn't make much sense. So we just make that relation an and. Now in the price above, we need to append to this meta query array. So let's do args meta query, create a blank array. And inside that, we want to add the array. The key is going to be the price, because that is the name of this custom field. There you go. So the key is the price. The value is going to be the get variable. Remember, let's sanitize the text field so that it can't be manipulated. And then we also have the comparison. So comparison is like if you want it to be equal to, or if you want it to not be equal to, if you want it to be like, so just in case it's not exactly, if they type in like 2,000 but results for 20,000 will come up as well, you could make it like. That's typically used when they're searching for a keyword in a custom field. It might, if you're only searching for a part of the text, all the text will still be searched and it will come up. So what you could do is we'll make it comparison will be equals. If you don't want it to do it, you just do exclamation equals. So that means that it will, if it's the price is not above that, but we'll make it equals. And is it going to be, sorry, it's not going to be equals to, it's going to be above. So above needs to be more than or equal to. So basically, let's go here, 20,000 bucks. If the price is more than 20,000 or equal to, then show it. And let's copy this. If the price is below or equal to price below, then show it as well. So let's refresh now, go to a blank screen. We'll do prices between 10 and 30. Search. There we go. Land Cruiser comes up. How much is the Land Cruiser? Land Cruiser is 20. Okay, so if we make it 170, all the cars should come up. Oh, okay. No, they're not. So why aren't they coming up? Price above is 10,000. Price below is 170,000. Price below, price is less than or equal to 170,000. Price above is more than or equal to. Okay, that's quite interesting. And I think what is causing this actual problem is the fact that I haven't told WordPress that this is actually a numeric value. It's kind of assuming it might be a string. So let's tell it type equals numeric. So both for the price above and the price below. Okay, save that. Let's go and try this again. Awesome, awesome. Okay, so that works. You definitely have to make sure you tell it that it's a numeric, it's a number, so it can actually calculate it properly. Otherwise, it might think it's a string and then it can't do calculations based on strings. Okay, so what if we want to just reset the search? The easiest way to do that would be to go to your search form. Underneath, maybe just do a link. Call it reset form or search. And then just link it back to PHP echo home URL car search. Refresh it. Reset search. As you can see, it just goes back to the same page, but I put it in the wrong area there. I want to put it down underneath the button there. Okay, so let's do a couple of tests here. We'll type Toyota there. It's not going to work, or actually it does work because it searches the title. So when you're doing a keyword search, it will actually search the title of the actual car as well. So if I typed in what is it, X54, it comes up. Now, what we can do also is simplify this a bit by moving the actual query into your functions.php, so it's not taking up this whole page, because as you can see, it's quite a bit of complex code here. So the first thing we could do is we can go into functions.php, go to the bottom, and let's go and just create a new function. We'll just call it something like search query. Now this function is not going to run unless you call it, okay? So then we'll go back in here and go to our query and copy all of this. Actually, all of this apart from this query part. Leave that there where it is. Save that. Go back to functions.php, paste in that code that we have. But instead, what we're going to do is we're going to grab this new WP query and we're going to return it. we'll return it within the function. But then we need to call this function. So search query, we will do query equals search query. So that's automatically going to call that function within our functions.php, and it should still work just fine. So let's refresh the page. Let's do a search for a BMW. As you can see, it still works. We've just kind of moved or refactored the code to go into our functions.php instead. So it pretties up our page. Another thing is we can move this piece of code right to the top of the page. And that way it loads straight away. So let's refresh again. We'll reset the search. We'll type in BMW. There you go. Awesome. One thing I've noticed though is this particular drop down. It doesn't have from and to, it just has 0 to 0. So maybe you want to have the most expensive price there at the start as default. So what you'd probably do is, the easiest thing would be just to go to that select for the to price, and we could do something like, we've already got an if statement here selecting it if we've actually searched for it, but then we can do an else statement, PHP else, and then we could just do, in the else statement, we could do PHP if I equals 200,000, we'll make it selected. Seems a bit weird, but let me just try and run you through it. Within this option of this select field, it's basically saying if the price is set, so if you set a price and the price, sorry, if the price equals the actual option within the select field, then it's going to show as selected. If that is not set, then if the price is 200,000, then make it selected as well. So there's a couple of if statements going on there, but you should know now, or we should see now, if I reset it, the to price should stay in place to 200,000. There we go. So, oh, actually, no, that didn't work. Why is that? Might be better if we do it like this anyway. We'll do else if I equals 200,000. And then we'll make it selected like that. Let's see if that works. Yeah, cool. There we go. So now the highest price is default and the lowest price is default as well. Okay, so yeah, the page is still ugly, but hopefully it's showing you the fundamentals of creating a search page and how kind of complex it can be. One other thing I want to show you as well is if we go to the bottom of this search page and we want to put, say, the title of the page. If we refresh, you'll see car search. That's the name of the page. It comes up. However, if I do a search and we get results, the title then changes to Toyota Corolla. We obviously don't want it to do that. So after you do a search, you need to reset the query, and you can just do it by after the else or before the else in the query. So if it is a search, if it has posts within this loop, just before the else, we want to do PHP WP reset post data, and that will ensure that it kind of resets it back to the default. So let's refresh it now. Now it's gone back to that. Cool. You probably wouldn't put the title down there, but I just wanted to show you as an example. Last but not least, I want to show you how to do paging in your search results. So if you have a lot of search results and you only want to show a couple at a time and have pages to switch between them, then this is what you want to do. Want to go in our functions.php. Before our arguments, let's create a variable called page or paged or paged, whatever you want to call it, equals. Now, WordPress has a query variable, like a function that automatically tells us the page that we're on in our search results or in our query results. So let's just, inside these brackets, let's do get query var paged, and we'll put a question mark there. After that, we're checking if it exists, and if it does, then we'll get the query var paged. Otherwise, the page number will be 1. And then we need to pass that into our arguments here. Paged, paged. So now basically the query will know what page we're on at that time, and then it will be able to spit back the next or previous and next links for us based on what page we're currently on. Cool. Now if we go back to our car search.php, before this reset post data thing, we can put the links. Now the links are quite painful, so I'm just going to paste them into here. I copied them directly off the WordPress website, and they will be in my GitHub repository if you look at the code. But basically, it is a function called paginate links, and it automatically grabs the paged, as you can see here, paged. It automatically knows what page number we're on from the query, and it will have numbers, and it will also have previous and next links. So if we refresh, right now there's no page numbers because we're showing everything. But if we say, go back to our functions.php and make it so there's only one post per page, have a look here. So now we've got paging here, 2, 1. So there you go. So that's how the paging works. You obviously want to style it, so you can easily style it by, if you actually just look at the code, that it is basically just a list item. So let's have a look here. Actually, no, it's not a list item. They're just anchor tags. So you could target the pagination div and then target all the anchor tags within there. But that's something for another day. So that comes to the end of our tutorial. You should now be pretty well informed about how to create your own search page, and hopefully you can use this knowledge to customize something of your own. If you have any questions, please let me know, and I hope you have a lovely day. Cheers.